Welcome everybody to a multi-part series on the Video Game Connection entitled The Video Game Chronicles, where I'll take you on a journey. So pop in those earbuds and chill, whether you're in a car, train, or a plane. But if you're on a plane, please don't disrupt Mike Tyson. Okay? Because he will turn around and whoop you like your mom did in the car. Remember when she was in the front of the car and you're disrupting in the back? That's basically what he did to that window licker looking dude. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so in the year 1988, yes, it's always 88, gamers found out that there was a new console coming to the United States in 1989, and that was the 16-bit Sega Genesis. And at the time, I was a paper boy, and I started saving my money and washing my uncle's Camaro or other things so I could save up to buy the system on day one. And I remember when it did come out, I still didn't have the money. I didn't have the $189.95. Again, with the 95 cents, didn't have it to buy the system, but I had a plan, on one of our weekend trips out to shop, and yes, there was no online shopping, not at all. I asked if we could go to Toys R Us, and ladies and gentlemen, Toys R Us back in the days had an entire aisle with gaming systems behind this huge plexiglass with lock. And I remember going up and down, pacing up and down those aisles like a lion, you know what I'm saying? Or going up and down the aisle like, woo, Nature Boy Ric Flair, just looking at the systems and the games, the Nintendo, ColecoVision, the Sega Genesis, and you know what? The TurboGrafx 16, which came out around the same time as the Genesis, and I had to decide, okay, which one am I going to get? But I already knew it was going to be the Sega Genesis. I couldn't wait any longer, so on that trip to Toys R Us, I asked my parents if they could just pay the remaining $50 and I would forego, any future Christmas gifts for that year. I think it was around September, and I couldn't wait any longer. It worked, and I took home the system, powered it up, and guess what I heard? Because the game included was none other than Altered Beast.
Rise from your grave.
Welcome to your doom.
I remember playing the Sega Genesis and the games that I had. I had Altered Beast, Golden Axe, Strider, Ghouls and Ghosts. Later it had NHL Hockey 94. Of course, in 91 though, Sonic the Hedgehog came out. Apparently, Sega needed a flagship series to compete with Nintendo and Mario, so artist Naoto Oshima drew different Sonics and took it to Central Park in New York, and he asked the people for their opinion. He had different ideas of what Sonic could look like. And by the way, Sonic's boots were inspired and molded after Michael Jackson's boots in Bad. No joke, not kidding about that. And let me just say, this is what I love about video games, okay? NHL Hockey 94 caused fistfights among me and my brothers, cousins, friends. That's not what I love about video games, but it's just, when you play these games and they're so good and it's a good game, it will cause fistfights because there's some passion to it, okay? I mean, NHL Hockey 94. This to me was a legendary sports game that, you know what, it was super fun and competitive. And I don't even like hockey, but I learned the team names, the players, all the rules, all because of this glorious game, ladies and gentlemen. I remember this. Me and my little brother, we shared a room, and we were having an NHL Hockey 94 tournament. 3 of my friends decided to sit on my top bunk bed, 1 on the bottom, and 2 people playing at the foot of the bed, that like they were chairs. These idiots on the top started wrestling, okay? The actual bed frame broke, and these guys came crashing down. Chaos all around, and my dad kicked in the door, man. He was very upset and kicked everybody out, Later, my dad did fix the big bed frame. I mean, the guy can fix anything. I mean, he even built us a garage. That's how good he is. But this is all because of video games, things would happen like this. Now that I think about it, there were so many video game systems out there that I had to pass on. The Neo Geo, the 3DO, the Atari Jaguar. But what I didn't pass on, and I would not pass on, was the Sega Saturn. Now, at the time, I was still going to arcades, and I was still playing arcade games. I was very, very good at Street Fighter 2. That was the arcade game back in the days. Also, Mortal Kombat was a big one. I remember, and Mortal Kombat 2, of course. But Mortal Kombat, I remember seeing Mortal Kombat for the first time. I was in Laughlin, Nevada. We didn't go to Vegas this year. We went to Laughlin, Nevada. It's like a big lake. And all it really had for me was the arcade. Okay? So you know what? $20 worth. Let's go play some games. And what did I see? I see Mortal Kombat. Honestly, I'd never seen a video game like this. So, bloody and gory and just plain cool. And the characters, Scorpion, Liu Kang, Raiden. Which, by the way, Raiden reminded me of the guy from Big Trouble in Little China. The lightning guy, remember that? I always thought that character came from there. Johnny Cage, Goro, Sonya Blade. And then later, they added Jax and Kano and other Kung Lao and other awesome Mortal Kombat characters. But let's go back to the Sega Saturn, shall we? The reason I purchased the Sega Saturn, and yes, it is a selling point, but when a system has a killer app, or in other words, comes with a great game like Virtua Fighter, I mean, they've won me over. Before online gaming, before Wi-Fi or 5G, people had to come over to your house, your apartment, bring their controller and battle it out, you know what I'm saying? Face to face. I always picked Akira Yoki because he looked like Ryu from Street Fighter on Virtua Fighter. Or my favorite character, one of my favorite characters for fighting ever, was the Drunken Master Lao Chan. He was awesome, right? With those kicks. And he'd kick you with the back of his shoe, bro. I mean, do video games cause fights? Because the greatest sprawl I ever did was at my apartment during a Virtua Fighter tournament. My buddy Alex and my brothers and my brother-in-laws were all there after like a UFC, I think it was UFC 3 pay-per-view, I think. And my friend, he kept challenging me over and over to a wrestling match. We used to wrestle together in high school and we're on the wrestling team. And this time he said, I could get you. I kept saying no, But you know what? After about 10 challenges, I didn't want to look like a punk. So I accepted. He shot in for a takedown and guys, I sprawled so perfectly and so hard that his face and his nose made a noise when it hit the carpeted floor. Alright? And then he gets up and we're both on our knees and he's so upset. He's so mad. He starts flinging his head around, and both of our heads are crashing into each other, side to side, like we're like two rams, man. Eventually, it gets broken up and he leaves. And let's just say I have no clue where he is today, but that's all right. You're still my friend, man. The Sega Saturn had some great sports games, and World Series Baseball got me through 1 year of gaming. I mean, that's all I would do, is I would play season after season of World Series Baseball. It had an announcer. I loved baseball at the time. That was my sport. It wasn't mixed martial arts. It wasn't basketball. It wasn't football. Definitely not hockey, but it was baseball. And that game is like one of my favorite baseball games of all time. I was obsessed. Sega Rally Championship and Panzer Dragoon were really the only games I played on the Sega Saturn, other than Virtua Fighter and World Series Baseball. And ladies and gentlemen, now I had money. Now I had job money. And you know what? When it came out, and this is going to be on the next episode, it's going to be devoted to this system, the Nintendo 64. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the system. I messed up last episode. I said the Super Nintendo. I really meant the Nintendo 64. The Nintendo 64, even with its funky controller, okay? I had to get used to that controller. I think everybody did. Was one of the greatest gaming systems of all time. Mainly for its games. Mainly because I had so much fun with those wrestling games. But we're going to get into it when we come back on episode. And thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. This is Homeboy 88 for the Video Game Chronicles episode 2, episode 3 coming a little later. Thank you. Peace out.
You're listening to a Homeboy 88 production.